When the electrical grid goes down and you still need power, is there an affordable option? Welcome to the Hippie Geeks. Let's take a look at the Egretech Sonic 1200 portable power station and see how well it works. The unit came double boxed, which I love to see as shipping companies these days seem determined to break something before it gets delivered here. Once I removed it from the outer box, there is the nicer inner box that lists some of the unit's features, but we are going to crack it open right away and start pulling things out. The first thing you are going to see is a box of cables, and you will find the car charger cable and the AC charging cable. I have already removed the AC charging cable from my box and put the XT60 to MC4 connector that I also had them send me in there as well. If you order one of the Egretech solar panels along with this unit, it will come with the proper adapter cable to get it plugged in. After that, you can remove the user manual along with the top foam cushion and then open up the bag they wrap the unit in to protect it from water. There is a very convenient carrying handle on the top of the unit, which makes it really easy to pull out of the box so that we can take a look at it. Looking at the front of the unit, the power button is on the top center, and if you hold it down for a couple of seconds, it will turn the unit on. I am going to peel the protective sticker from the front of the display now to make it easier to read the info. On the right side, you will find the cigarette lighter 12-volt port, which will support up to 120 watts of output, which I will be using to run the water pump on our shower that we looked at a little while back. On the left side of the front, you will find all of the USB outputs, two Type A that can output 24 watts of power total, and two Type C that can output 100 watts of power. There is also a light bar along the bottom there that you can turn on with the button next to the power button, and while it isn't a ton of light, it is nice to have in an emergency. On the left side of the unit, you will find an air vent on the bottom half with a trapdoor above it that you can flip open to expose the charging ports. The XT60 connector is for either the car charger or the solar panel MC4 adapter and will accept a maximum of 200 watts of input. That means that if the unit is completely drained, charging it via that port will take right around 5 hours in a best case scenario, though the user manual says that solar charging will take 6 to 7 hours, while car charging will take around 9 hours. Next to that is the AC input, and this is really how they intend you to charge this unit up. The user manual states that it will accept a maximum of 1000 watts of input, but what you will mostly see is something in the 800 watt range for the first 80%, which will take about an hour, and then it slows down from there and will take just under another hour to completely finish charging. On the right side of the unit, we will see another air vent on the bottom with the AC out ports on the top. These will output a maximum of 1200 watts of power, though we will talk more about what that means later in the video when we start testing it. I am going to go ahead and flip back to the front of the unit to mess with that light a little bit, and you can kind of see it shining even in the daylight, which isn't bad at all. There is a wireless charging spot on the top of the unit as well, and we will also be looking at how well that works a bit later in the video. Let's get into actually testing this unit and see how well it does. We have an electric kettle that I love using for tests like these, as it will pull almost 1600 watts for around 5 to 10 minutes to boil 7 cups of water. As I mentioned earlier, the AC ports on this unit will output a maximum of 1200 watts of power, but the Sonic 1200 does something really interesting when you hit it with a heavier load. A lot of these units that I have seen will simply give up and shut off the output, but what this one does is something that I really like, in that it just regulates the power load to just below the 1200 watt maximum and keeps going. While this means that the water will take a little longer to boil than it usually would, it does finish boiling in just under 8 minutes. The Sonic 1200 has a maximum capacity of 1000 watts of power, which means that a full 1200 watts of load on the unit would drain the battery from full to empty in around 50 minutes. I am really impressed that it was able to push its full wattage for this long, though for the most part I will not be pushing it this hard with the way I will probably be using it. Next up, I am going to be testing out using this unit with our 12-volt refrigerator, and you may remember that the thing I was least happy about with our last power station is that it would randomly shut the 12-volt port down when trying to run the refrigerator for long stretches of time. You can see that when I first plugged it in, it was pulling around 45 watts as it got going, and then eventually jumped up to about 80 watts of power draw, which is the max that we ever see it use. It is going to run like this pretty heavily for a little while as it brings the refrigerator down to temperature, then it will start alternating to keep it cool. With our 12-volt refrigerator, even if the refrigerator was running all the time, which it does not, it should last just over 12 hours. The compressor actually kicks on for just under half the time that it is actually plugged in though, which means that this unit would run our refrigerator for just over a full day before it was completely discharged if I didn't charge it at the same time. Next up, I am going to try out the wireless charger that is on top of the unit, and not surprisingly, it works great. Wireless charging is never the fastest thing though, so if you want to charge up faster, make sure to use the wired ports on the front of the Sonic 1200. The last thing I want to try is to use all of the different ports at once and see how well it is going to handle it. I have the electric kettle plugged into the AC output, my phone charging via the USB-A port, and the refrigerator is plugged into the cigarette lighter port as well. You will see that the maximum power draw that the unit sees is 1630 watts, though it soon reduces the AC output to the 1200 watts that we saw before. However, that doesn't stop power from still going to the other ports, which is why we see the output settle to right around 1280 watts as it powers everything that I have hooked up. I have been using this unit for a few weeks now, and so far it has exceeded my expectations. All of the claims that are in the user manual seem to actually be true, which is refreshing. Using the AC input port, it will charge from completely empty to 80% full in right around an hour, with the last bit taking another 45 minutes or so. I love that instead of shutting off under a heavy load, it just reduced the power output and keeps going. I have used our 100-watt solar panel to charge it up during the day, and it gets about a 50% charge into it, which is about all that you can expect from a 100-watt solar panel. For the most part, I charge it via the AC input when we have our generator running, and that has worked great. Looking at the Egretech website right now, it appears that they are running a special at the moment, and this unit is priced at $399, which is incredible. I paid that much for the considerably smaller unit that we looked at last time, and for what you get with the Sonic 1200, this is an amazing deal. I want to give a huge thank you to Egretech for sending me this unit to put through its paces, and if you want to check it out for yourself, make sure to click on the link to their website in the video description down below.